Hello everyone, I'm Haris and I came to Japan in 2020 on MEXT Scholarship on Embassy Recommendation track, and I'm very excited to share with you that the MEXT Scholarship for Masters and PhD for next year 2024 is also open, and in this video I will guide you thoroughly that how you can also apply for the same scholarship and secure your admission for Masters or PhD. There are three stages for MEXT application. The first stage is filling and submitting the application form, and that usually starts from end of April, which is already open, and the deadline is usually the end of May. And the screening notice will come around June. And the next stage is after you're screening the initial application, the next stage is interview and test at the embassy, which takes place around July, and the result of first screening or embassy screening comes out around August of the application year. And the next stage is after having your application approved from the embassy. That means that you have secured the funding, and now you have to get admission in a university. So in the final stage, you apply for admissions in the universities, and after getting admission, your placement will be decided by the October of the same year, and you can choose to start your university either from April or September of the following year from the application year. So in this video, I will particularly focus on filling the initial application form, and as you move along in the procedure, I will make more videos that to guide you through your test and interview process at the embassy and also securing admission in the university. So when I made those videos, I will link them in this video as well. So this is the web page from the Embassy of Japan in Pakistan, and you can see that the applications are already open and the deadline for this year is 31st May. So actually this means that if you submit your application this year, your classes will start from next year 2024. So it always starts from next year after the application year. So in the same way, the Embassy of Japan in India has also recently announced the application for MEXT Scholarship. So the timeline is almost the same. Before proceeding further in this video, I would like to share with you my experience that how I found Japan and kind of motivate you and give you reasons that why you should choose Japan as well. First of all, I think Japan is incredibly safe country. It is one of the most safest countries in the world. It's very normal to see kids on the streets and commuting on trains while going to school by themselves. Secondly, there are a lot of things to experience in the metropolitan cities of Japan, for example, Tokyo and Osaka. And also there is a lot of cultural things to experience in outskirts of Japan as well. And Japan is well known for its hospitality all around the world. Wherever you go in Japan, either in supermarket or in public office, you feel very valued and they give you best class hospitality. And the final and the most important reason from my opinion to come to Japan at this time is there are a lot of opportunities right now. There is actually a shortage of skilled people in Japan. So if you come to Japan and graduate from a Japanese university, there are a lot of opportunities in almost every field. So I will briefly mention few of the major benefits of MEXT Scholarship in Japan. First of all, the scholarship sponsors your educational fees or your tuition fee of the university, both for Masters and PhD. And they give you a monthly stipend of almost 150,000 Japanese yen, which is more than enough to cover all your living expenses in Japan. And they also give you a ticket to come to Japan and after your degree to go back to your home country as well. And in MEXT Scholarship, there is no contract, there is no bond that you have to go back to your country. So after finishing your degree, you can easily start your work in Japan and convert your visa to work visa easily. One important thing which I would like to mention here is that the Embassy Recommendation track is accepting scholarship applications for research students. So there is actually a little bit confusion sometimes. So I will mention the difference between a research student and a degree student. So through MEXT Embassy Recommendation track, when you get accepted, you join the university as a research student, which means from 6 months to up to 2 years, you don't start your degree, but you can stay as a research student when you can spend your time on learning Japanese language or preparing for your research in your degree, for example, master's and PhD. And after every 6 months, you can decide whether you want to proceed to master's or PhD degree, or you want to stay research student up to 2 years. So the timeline actually depends upon the university, so which you will be notified after you join as a research student in your respective university. So these are the required documents which are mentioned on the website as well. So I will briefly mention few of the important points about these documents, but I will mainly discuss the 3 important documents, which are application form, field of study and research plan document, and also the recommendation letter. So before that, I have some comments about the placement preference application form. So this is basically an initial preference which you submit along with your application, that which of the universities you are hoping to get admission after your embassy recommendation application is approved. So you don't have to be final about your choices. You can have a kind of look at various universities. So this is kind of to encourage you that you find your future institutes in Japan, and you have a little bit idea that what are the programs being offered in Japan for your field. Another set of documents which are required for this application are your past result certificates. So there is a sheet which you will find on the website where you have to fill your records of the previous degrees. And this point is crucial about the graduation certificate. So you are actually eligible for this scholarship even if you are not graduated from your last degree. So if you can provide a hope certificate that you will graduate from your degree by the end of application acceptance time, which is usually around the end of the year, so you can submit that hope certificate and you are still eligible to apply for this scholarship. So the documents which are circled in white, they are required documents, you have to submit them, and the ones which are circled as black, they are optional documents, you can provide them if you have, and otherwise you can just skip them. So for example, there is no requirements of IELTS or any other language certificate, but if you have, you can attach it with your application. So the last thing which I want to mention is about the recommendation letter. So you have to submit the recommendation letter from your professors in the previous university and also your current employer or manager if you are doing job. So I will mention more details in a bit of time. So the first most important document in this application is the application form. And the first half of the application form is just filling in the usual information, as in your personal data, your educational history. And the most important part of the application form is the final part, which is 20th part of the application. There are further 3 questions. And the first question is, what is the trigger for having an interest in Japan? And in this part, you actually have to mention your interest, that how you got interested in studying in Japan. For example, you can mention that you are interested in anime, you are interested by the robotics innovation in Japan, and you are interested and your field is relevant to automobile industry of Japan, and or you are interested in Japanese culture. So you have to kind of shortlist those points and express them clearly in this part of the question. So the second question is, why do you choose Japan as a destination to study graduate level education? So I recommend that in this question, you mention your prospective research labs or universities after having a detailed search on the internet. So you should find like what labs or what companies are working related to your field. So it would be nice if you can mention few of the names from those universities. So it will show that you have done proper research before filling this application. So the last part of this question is, what kind of things do you think you can contribute to Japan if you get the scholarship, and how will you contribute back to your home country after studying in Japan? So this part is important, that you have to kind of link your country's strengths and align it with the your experience in Japan, and you have to express that how that experience or how you can contribute specifically in those domains. So my overall suggestion about this question is that you should give it a proper time, and you should do a lot of research before mentioning each point in each part of this question, and try to avoid writing generic things in this part, and try to be very specific. And in this way, the interviewer or the evaluator of the application would know that you have done proper research and you are really interested in studying in Japan. In my opinion, the most important part of the application is research plan or research proposal, because in Japan, even the master's is usually research oriented, which means you have to do research throughout your master's degree under the supervision of your professor. So I have few tips to share to write an effective research plan. So first of all, try to write down your thoughts, whatever your plans are, that what kind of research you want to do. And after that, try to search the labs and the universities which are working in that domain. And then try to align the working of the labs with your own motives, that what you want to do. So after repeating it 2 or 3 times, I think you will be able to write a very effective research plan. So the general tips about research plan is that don't rush to fill the research plan form. Try to dedicate some time and try to make a convincing proposal. And in the process of writing a research proposal, you will definitely find your research interest as well, and you will enjoy the process if you spend a proper time on it. And try to ask for feedback from seniors. So sometimes we tend to become too technical and too specific. So I think a feedback from a senior who has already passed through this process would be very helpful in improving your research plan. And lastly, make it easy to understand and focus on the value of your research proposal or your idea, rather than being too much focused on the methodology or the technical details. Because the evaluators or the people who will screen your application, they might not be from the same domain as you. So you have to make your research proposal easy to understand even for the people who are not from your field. Lastly, try to add references to support your research idea or your research hypothesis. So for example, in my case, I was interested to study Internet of Things and robotics in Japan. So I kind of read some reports that what is the outlook of robotics industry in next 5 years, and how much business is going to be generated, and how much value this sector is going to be creating, and try to integrate that kind of data to support and to highlight the value of your research instead of being too technical. So this is the template which you will find on the website to write your research plan. So basically in the first part, you have to write and briefly tell your past and current experience, that what you are working on right now. So this is actually a very important part, because in this part you will try to summarize your experience which you have gained so far, and try to link it with what you want to do from now onwards. So you can actually transition a little bit from your current area of study to a different area, but you have to provide a link that how those two fields are related. And this is the part where you will explain that how your previous study will be linked to your future interest. And in the second part, first you have to explain the research theme, that what kind of research you want to do in what kind of field. And the second part is you will explain that what is the details and what will be the process to conduct that research. And this is actually the detailed plan where you will explain some background of your research, and you will explain your research hypothesis, and you will explain that what are the expected outcomes from your research proposal or your research idea. And I think having good recommendation letters also supports your application a lot. So this is actually to elevate your credibility in the eyes of the interviewer or the evaluator. So try to attach at least 2 recommendation letters. So in my case, I got 1 recommendation letter from my bachelor's supervisor, and the second recommendation letter I got from the head of the department, and the third recommendation letter I got from my manager in the company where I was working at the time of application. So actually there is no template for recommendation letter. You can just summarize in form of a paragraph, or you can follow the template which is already available on the website. So in general, I think your recommendation letter should be candid and casual, and it should be targeting your specific strengths, and you should ask the recommender to write some recommendations about your specific good points, and instead of writing something very generic. So sometimes the professors in the university are very busy and they don't have time to write a detailed recommendation letter. So in that case, you can write a recommendation letter by yourself, and you can get it checked and approved from the recommender. So after filling your application, I think it's equally important to submit your application professionally. So try to submit your application in time to avoid any delays or any mishaps in near the deadline. And try to recheck your application to remove any typos or grammatical mistakes. And also, when you send your application in paper form to embassy, try to organize your documents with some separators and try to arrange them in a file in a proper way, because the screener or the evaluator will feel good when your documents are arranged in a very good way. So there are some common questions which I would like to answer here. The first of all, the requirement or the eligibility criteria for this application is that in the last degree or the degree which you are doing right now, you should have at least 80% marks. Even in case of GPA, it has to be more than 80%. And the age limit for this scholarship is around 33 or 34 years, and it is actually mentioned in the scholarship application form that the applicant should be born after 2nd April 1989. And in this application, there is no requirement for IELTS or Japanese language, and all fields are eligible given that universities in Japan are offering the programs for your targeted field. And this is very common question: is the scholarship stipend enough? So I think it is enough to suffice your living expenses in Japan. So again, I wish you all the best if you are going to submit the application for this scholarship. So again, this is the first stage of the application. So I will make videos about the second and third stage of the application as well. So please stay tuned with my YouTube channel, or follow me on Facebook as well, and I will guide you till the end of the application process, because I myself has been through this scholarship process as well. And if you have any questions about the stage 1, please try to use the comment section of this video, and I will try to answer all your questions. And again, I wish you all the best for your scholarship application, and thank you very much for watching this video.